Okay guys, we're back today. Today is Wednesday. Do y'all have any questions about what we covered last Wednesday? We didn't have class on Monday, so hopefully y'all worked on some of the stuff that we worked on Wednesday. Yeah? No?
I figured out my number problem.
You did?
Yeah, I said the wrong things twice. So.
See, and it's small little things that can keep it, and you're like, you know, no, I'm doing it right, and I'm doing it right, and it's just something small that's keeping it from the software understanding. You know, so that's why, you know, you have to pay real close attention to detail, because I mean, one small thing is going to make it do something that it's not supposed to. Okay? Do you have any questions about stuff that we've covered so far? No? All right. Tonight we're going to talk about form fields. And I think y'all kind of know what those are. We've kind of covered them already. And that's the little fill in the blanks stuff. Y'all remember?
Let's see how Total Eclipse form fields make it easy to fill in the blanks for information that changes from transcript to transcript. There are several ways to begin filling in the blanks. You can click on a toolbar menu, or go to the production menu, or use speed key Control-E, or hyperkey E. In this blank, I'll type in a number, and pressing Enter is OK. Blanks can be set to automatically adjust their size to accommodate your text, and to delete the entire line thereon if you leave the blank empty. So the line that was here was automatically deleted. Blanks can also be set to completely capitalize whatever text gets placed in them, and to look in a list file to give choices. This blank knows how I filled in the witness's name in other spots in my transcript, and it's prompting me in case that information has changed. I'll just press OK. And finally, form fields can make it quick and easy to insert client information. Within these short presentations, it's not possible to show all that form fields can do. So a separate in-depth ePower video tutorial is available on form fields and automatic indexing.
Pretty cut and dry. No big deal. You know, so how do we get into a form field? E. Enter. So enter a form field. Okay? And that's going to get you into one of these little things right here, the little blue fields, okay? E. Or Control-E.
Let's see how AutoMagic works with form fields and the fill-in-the-blanks process. The choices offered in relation to form fields are perfect examples of how AutoMagic helps both new and long-time users of Eclipse. So when your cursor is resting on a form field, the triple scan would fill just that one field. That would be speed key Control-T or hyperkey T. In contrast, you might want to...
Y'all got that? Just T to get in there, to fill in just that one field. Okay? So, AutoMagic is going to help you with that too. When you come to these spots, it's going to ask you what you want to do. Okay? So a lot of times you can get on it and it's like, man, I don't remember what to, you know, what the function is to even get in that field, man. I can't remember. Get on it. Anywhere in there. Just put your cursor anywhere in there and it's going to bring this little thing up. Oh yeah, fill in all the blanks is E. Fill in the blanks.
Fill in all blanks. That would be hyperkey E or speed key Control E. Many longtime users of Eclipse may not have been aware of the distinction between the ability to fill in just one blank and the ability to go through the documents, filling in all blanks. AutoMagic also makes it very easy to modify a field. So here, if I press 3, that would open the dialog where I can change the properties of this field. Maybe I want to give it a different name or use a different variable.
So you can do different things when you set up these lines or whatever. And it's like, you know, I need more space, or I need it centered, or I need it, you know, whatever. This is where you can do it, you know, where you need an adjustable line, the field size. You can name it something different if you want it named something different. Capitalize the contents, delete the line if empty. So if you go in there and you don't leave anything and you just push OK, then it'll delete the line. You don't have to worry about deleting the line, which is what?
Y. Hyperkey Y. No. All Y?
You're so close.
Shift Y?
Control Y.
That was my next guess.
Duh, that was the only one left. but I mean, that's what it is, Control Y. So it's yank. So it's like yanking, you know, and that's what the Y is, yank the line, okay? Total the line.
So that the information I place in one field will be remembered in a similar field somewhere else. Maybe I want to use a different file that would offer a list of choices. Or if this field was on a billing page or a certificate page, perhaps I'd want to insert a formula that would calculate the number of pages in the document and perhaps the taxable cost. The choice to delete a form field is pretty self-explanatory. But what about job variables? If I press 5 here, it opens the dialog that stores the information that Eclipse is learning as I'm filling in the blanks. So if I perhaps made a mistake in spelling the witness's name, I could correct that spelling before it's used to fill in other blanks in the transcript. For more information, check out the other visualizers that are devoted to form fields and the fill-in-the-blanks process.
Did y'all get that? That last part? You know, so if you messed up on the witness's name, accidentally spelled it wrong, and it's like, oh man. So it's gonna come up every time. So if you have certain fields where it's listed as witness, every time you come to that witness name, it's gonna bring up that name. So if you have Shashevsky and you spelled it C or Z-Y or C-H-Y and it's really C-Z-Y, it's like, oh man, I spelled it wrong. No big deal. Go into that, what was it, variables or something like that?
Modified field?
Huh? I think it was modify variables or something like that.
Let's see how AutoMagic works with Form 5 here. It opens the
job
dialog that
variables.
stores the information.
Job variables, okay? And it's gonna bring that up, job variables, and it's gonna ask you right there. So, you know, where this is, the P is gonna ask, you know, it's asking what kind of a case it is or whatever. That's the page that it has that on, or that. So you have trial, and it could be a motion to suppress, Chapter 262 hearing, motion, trial on the merits. I mean, guys, there's a deposition, you know, so it can be any of a number of things. I mean, there's so many motions and, you know, stuff, different hearings. So, I mean, it could be any of a number of things. So if you get that one wrong, and it was a, you know, motion to suppress, and you have a motion to suppress, you thought, yeah, it's a motion to suppress. No, it's not. It's a motion to suppress, S-U, okay? And you put S-O and you spell it wrong, you can come in here and change it. Got it?
Got it.
Any questions? So they're gonna give you a little your turn right here. Are y'all right here?
Yeah.
Some of us are. What happened?
I left it at work. Toyota brought me my car for my oil change,
Oh,
and
yeah?
I left it at my work.
Wow. Anywho. Katie, how do we get in there? Órale.
Or you can click on it,
Or what?
or you can click on it and press T.
I don't know. Let's try it. It may not do it in here.
Like the T is just for the automatic, right?
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, let's see. Yeah, it helps you fill in the blank. So if you're in there, yeah. But if you want to go to it, it's E. Okay? T is just that line. So you're just going to fill in that line. If you do the E, it's going to go to every line after that once you fill it in. Okay? So we're not going to mess with it right now. I mean, I'll kind of do this one. And let's just say it's 2017-JUV. And remember, it's all caps. -00081. Okay? And then you just come right here, press OK. Pow. It does it. Now, it didn't go to the next one because of what?
Press T.
I did T. Well, I only wanted to do that one. Todo. I think it's bilingual. So, so it's T for just that one. But if you do E, it goes, well, I mean, if you're on that line, it's going to go back in there. So it's going to go to the closest one. You know, so that one's okay. I already have that number. So see how it goes to the next one? It automatically went to the next one. And on T, it didn't. Okay? And then you can kind of fill in whatever you want there. So I'll let y'all kind of mess with that. Okay, y'all have any questions about form fills? Pretty easy, cut and dry.
That's all?
No big deal. Well, it gets in depth a little bit later. This is just kind of an introduction to form fills. All right, relax. Maybe you'll have your computer next time. So, any questions about that? No?
Mm-mm.
All right, spell check. How do we make it larger? The field?
Alt F7? F7? Is it F8?
Alt F7?
Shift Control F7.
Control Shift F7 makes it larger. I mean, we learned that the first class, so I mean, I know it's kind of weird. A long time ago, so. Guys, pay attention to this one, because this is good. We've kind of gone over this a little bit, or whatever, but this is good stuff. It really is. And it's going to help you, all right? Really going to help you.
Let's look at some of the proofreading tools that are built into Total Eclipse. You can start the spell check by clicking on an icon of a toolbar or selecting from the production menu. However, anytime you want to check the spelling of the word your cursor is on, just press Alt-S.
We've already done this, right? Y'all have written this down, right? It should be already in your notes. Alt-S is probably going to be one of your best friends, okay? And, you know, with the software, when it thinks that it's wrong, or it's on a word that it doesn't recognize, and it's usually proper names, stuff like that, there's going to be a little red line under here. And it's like, you know, it's just kind of telling you, hey, I'm not saying it's wrong, but I don't recognize it or whatever. And it's not part of English language or whatever, so I don't recognize it. It's not in your dictionary. You might want to check it, okay?
And if you're wondering whether two words could be properly joined as one, just mark the words and then press Alt-S.
How do you mark the words?
M.
M. Mark the words, then press the Alt-S, and it'll tell you. Watch, it'll show you.
Then check the status bar in the lower.
Right down here, remember? And it's going to tell you iceberg is correct. And you see that it's 2. Also, it's going to be automagic. Remember? So it's going to give it to you as 1 word, 2 words. So there's a lot of words that can stand as, you know, ice and berg. I guess berg. Can it? No, not really. I don't know. But there's a lot of words that can stand on their own. And I think we had that in one of the other little lessons that we had. God, what was it? She was outstanding in the field.
Oh,
and they
yeah.
had it as 1 word. She was outstanding in the field.
I mean, either way, sounds good.
No.
I mean, I know.
She was terrific in the field?
I mean,
Maybe.
it could be the field of work. So it depends on the paragraph.
That's exactly right.
Oh yeah, that's true.
You know?
But if she's out,
But I know what you're saying. It was
Yeah.
supposed to be 2 words.
but if you know, say she was in a field of acting, and she was outstanding in that field of acting. But if she was out
Standing in the field of corn.
standing in a cornfield, she wasn't terrific in the cornfield. Maybe she was, I don't know. Maybe she was a sprinter, I don't know. You know? So it all depends. You know, so Automagic is gonna give you that difference. It's gonna give you that choice of 1 word, 2 word, okay? But if not, then it's Alt S. And you mark it by M. You have to mark both words. If you mark ice and press Alt S, all it's going to say is, yeah,
So MM.
ice is spelled correct. ICE, you know, so it's not going to tell you whether the iceberg or whatever, okay?
Left corner of your Eclipse program window. When you're ready to spell check your entire document and not just individual words, you can get started by pressing Shift-Alt-S. However, let's see how you can go to the Edit section of your user settings and fine-tune the spell checker's behavior. By default, Eclipse checks for several kinds of errors. It also loads the words of your job dictionary.
You want to look at this too. So open up your user settings. Get out of that lesson. Get into the gray box of Eclipse. And how do you get into your user settings? Alt U. Okay? Get in there and get into, what did they say, spelling?
The spell
Edit. Get into Edit, Spell Options,
checker's behavior.
once you get into Spell Options, it should bring you to this. Are you here? Yes? Guys, make sure, if nothing else, these 3 are checked. Because sometimes you do it, and I mean, it doesn't happen to me, but every now and then you have like a double question, double answer. Okay, and you're just going so fast that, you know, sometimes you just hit the double question. Question, where did you go? Question, I went to the store. Question, what time did you go? Answer, I went at 4:30. And you don't even realize it because you're going so fast. Okay? No big deal. When you do spell check, it'll check for that. It'll check for double Q's, double A's, and double speakers. You know, so sometimes you have the court, call your next witness, the court. I'm gonna call Mrs. Jones, the court. Okay, come on up and blah, blah, blah. And then, you know, you press the other one. Oh, okay, I need her sworn in, you know, for attorney 1. Well, you missed attorney 1 on, I'm gonna call this witness. The court didn't call the witness, but maybe you were just going so fast that you hit the court 2 times, 3 times, okay? No big deal. When you go through spell check, it's gonna catch it. 1, when you're editing, you should catch it. Maybe you didn't. 2, when you spell check, when you spell check, you should spell check everything. When you spell check, you should catch it again, and then print it, and when you proofread it, you should catch it again. So you have 3 things to help you catch it, okay? If you use these things correctly, okay? So it's only helping you. It's only gonna help you. Trust me, guys. Even as good as you are, as good as I've gotten, you still make mistakes, okay? Human error, no big deal. It happens, okay? The more things you put in place to help you catch it, the better, okay? So these things, punctuation, like sometimes you have double punctuation. You don't even realize it. It's like there's 2 periods, or a period and a question mark. Really? Maybe. I mean, it happens. So misspelled words, double words, punctuation, so all of these should be checked, all of them. But if you don't check any of them, you make sure you have those 3 checked. But they should all be checked. Are they? Yeah? Are they? Check in your car.
By default, Eclipse checks for several kinds of errors. It also loads the words of your job dictionary in the ignored words list, so it won't have to ask you about them. When you finish spell checking, Eclipse keeps track of the words that you've been ignoring. This is great if you're spell checking several documents in the same case. But if you're switching to a different case, you might want to purge the ignored words. You also have the option to read along with the spell checker. If you use this method, here's where you can control the speed of the cursor. Basically, you'll be reading along for context while you let the computer catch things like double words or too many.
And like double words is like that.
Yeah.
And then sometimes you're going so fast that you don't even realize that it's there. Well, sometimes it makes sense, you know? Was it that you did yesterday? You know, so sometimes it makes sense and sometimes it's supposed to be in there. Well, it doesn't necessarily know. So it's always gonna stop on it. You know what, this time, just ignore it. Not ignore every time, because there's another button that says ignore all. You don't wanna do that, but ignore that time. Yeah, that time it's correct. So I need to ignore it that time. So sometimes it's gonna be correct, or, you know, when they say, and you went to the movies with so-and-so, you. It doesn't know. All it knows is there's 2 U's, okay? The 2 U's. And sometimes it's correct, sometimes it isn't. Sometimes you're going so fast that you have a U here and a U here, and it's like, you know, when I was going through it, I didn't realize that there was 2 U's. No big deal. It'll pick it up.
Spaces between words.
See, and it also does that. If you have an extra space in there, it'll detect that too. So it'll ask you, is it the space? Yeah. So you click on the space, push change, and it moves it back to where it needs to be. Pretty cool. And you don't even realize sometimes that you've hit, you know, maybe the space bar a couple of times, and you know, it looks semi-okay, you know, when you're reading it, you're just going so fast or whatever that you don't realize. And a lot of times where it happens is when you have a word here and you have a word here. It says, well, there's too many spaces. Well, it doesn't really matter because it's here and there. Well, you know what? If something changes and it puts it back and puts this word back over here, now you have 2 spaces. So always correct it. Okay? And it'll do it. I mean, if it's not supposed to be there, it'll put them together and it'll look funny, and now it's going to tell you, well, is this a word? You know, Javier? You know, because it put the have and a together because, you know, the a was down here. All of a sudden it put it together. Now it's Javier. No, it's not Javier. It's have a. I know what I'm trying to say. Y'all getting it? Okay.
Are words to ignore, are double questions. Of course, you do not have to read along with the spell checker, and if you're looking for an even faster method, you might consider list errors, which is the subject of a separate presentation.
I don't know that I do the list errors. It's always better to read along, okay? It doesn't, I mean, it takes a little bit longer, but it's worth it, okay?
So that read along, that's different than just the normal spell checker?
No, it is a spell checker. So usually the read along is going to be the spell check. So what it's going to do is it's going to go through the document and it's going down, boom, all of a sudden it hits all tech. Oh no, that's correct. So now you're going to hit, all tech is spelled correct. So it's ALTECH, all tech, okay? No big deal. You want to hit ignore all because you don't want it to stop on all tech every time, okay? Well, maybe they were talking about a company that's suing a company because they were kind of close in name. It was Alltech, ALTECH, is suing Alltech, ALTECK, because the names were kind of the same and they kind of do the same thing. I don't know. I'm just trying to give you an example. There, you want to be careful, okay? Because maybe it is spelled correctly, and you want to make sure which Alltech you're talking about. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So on those you want to be, but if it's a deposition about Alltech and they said it 749 times in an 6-hour deposition, I don't know that I want to do ignore every time for 768 times or whatever. Okay? You just want to ignore all. So this way it doesn't stop on Alltech anymore. You in the back.
So on the spell check, will it stop on the double spaces or only on read along?
No, it'll stop on the double space. It stops on everything.
Oh.
On the read along, it's better because it's going to go along. On the other one, it's just going to go through and then it tells you which ones are wrong. I don't know about that. You know?
So you do the, when you do your editing, you do the read along? Or,
I do it at the
understand
end.
difference. What-
I'm sorry?
I don't understand the difference. So it's going through the spell check and checking it. What's the difference between that and the read along? Because you're proofing it, going through the whole
The
thing.
read along
and
is
stopping
the-
each time?
The read along is a spell check. So the spell check is when you want to do it at the end of the document. You know, I've gotten to the end of the document. It's 98 pages. Okay. I want to do what to go to page 1? How do I go to page 1?
Oh, snap.
Go to page.
Yeah. G? No, it's cool.
Go to page.
Control T.
Control Shift G.
Shift G? Oh, that's
Alt
also
G.
a-
Is it?
All G. Very good. Very good, Katie. I knew we were going to get it. I knew you were paying attention. Guys, when I'm going like this, just go through all of them. Shift, Control, Alt. You're going to get it eventually, okay? There's only 3. All right? Alt G. Alt G is go to page. Okay? Press 1. You go to the top. You know what? I want to check the whole document now. I want to check it for double Q's, double A's, spaces, any incorrect spellings, funny spellings, whatever, okay? Double punctuation, I want to check it for everything. So that's where you go, that's the read along, is the spell check.
Double Q's and A's.
If you're just in the document and it's like iceberg, man, is that spelled correctly? How do I check it? Alt S checks that one word. That's it. The read along is where it goes down and it's, here's one. You have you. Oh no, that's all right. Now it goes down 16 or 18 pages. Well, here's Alltech. No, Alltech's correct. Ignore all. So it's allowing you to go into the document, stay in the document, and it's like, well, because the other one's going to say, I don't even know how to do it. I've never even really used it, so I mean, I'm sitting here guessing on what it's going to do. But it's going to give you something like at the end that says, line 14, page 88. Now you got to go to page 88, line 14, and read it to make sure that it's correct. Was it a, well, did you went to the store and it's correct, but it just needed some punctuation, but it is correct, you know? So now you have to go back and check it. It's always better to do the read along to me, because then you can go in and read it. Oh yeah, it makes sense. Is iceberg one word? Yeah, it didn't stop on it, so yeah, it's one word. You know, stuff like that.
So and then we use your settings still, and I don't have the read along checked. So if we check that, then
No, it's not an option. The read along is on the Alt S. I mean on the spell check. So if you do spell check, that's reading along. So it's not a box that you check.
okay.
Okay? It's a function that you check. Alt S is only going to check the one word. Spell check is going to do the read along and check the whole thing. Okay? That makes sense?
It does, but
Huh?
under the spell options, it has read along with spell check, but it's not checked.
Yeah, it's not checked
Yeah.
on any of
So
them.
that, right, but that's just an option if you want to do it that way, then you check that box.
I don't think I saw it on there.
You go to the options.
I don't know. I don't know. Let me go back and, I mean,
So
we'll look
it'll
at it
do the
again,
spell
but,
check,
I mean,
if
I
you
thought
don't
that,
have
I'm
the
sorry?
I said it'll do the spell check, but if you don't have that box option checked, it won't let you read along with it. So if you want to read along with the spell check, you have to check that box. That's what the tutorial
No.
said.
The spell check is going to stop on every word that's incorrect, and then you can read it, you can read, you know,
Right.
what it has.
But with the read along, the cursor go piece by piece on every word with the read along. That's what the tutorial said.
I don't know. Let's watch it again.
Let's look at some of the proofreading tools that are built into Total Eclipse, or several kinds of errors. It also loads the words of your job dictionary in the ignored words list, so it won't have to ask you about them. When you finish spell checking, Eclipse keeps track of the words that you've been ignoring. This is great if you're spell checking several documents in the same case. But if you're switching to a different case, you might want to purge the ignored words. You also have the option to read along with the spell checker. If you use this method, here's where you can control the speed of the cursor. Basically, you'll be reading along for context while you let the computer catch things like double words, or too many spaces between words, or words to ignore, or double questions. Of course, you do not have to read along with the spell checker.
Guys, if you want to do that, help yourself. And when you have to check into an insane asylum, let me know and I'll go visit you. Holy cow. Reading along with that thing, one, I don't suggest you do your proofreading on the computer. Always print it. Always print it and proof it from the hard copy. Okay? So many things can happen, and you're gonna see once we start getting on the computers and we start printing stuff and it comes out, you're gonna see how many mistakes can happen and you don't even see them. Like a page break and you didn't even know it was there. Little things like that can happen. Always proof from the hard copy. That read along is reading along as you're going, and it's spell checking as you're going along. You do what you want, okay? But when you get that errata sheet at the end and it's got 84 mistakes because you missed some stuff, not gonna be too good. The errata sheet is where the reader gets to go through the deposition and make corrections that you missed, that you messed up. Not too good, okay?
So you don't suggest to do read
I
along?
don't suggest doing the read along. I don't suggest doing the read along. It's a lot easier just to do the spell check, let the spell check go through it. It's gonna stop on the things, you can still read it because it's gonna stop. It's gonna highlight it. Is this right? Rodriguez with an S? No, it's supposed to be with a Z. No big deal. I'll change it, blah, blah, blah. Then you go through, do the whole document, spell check it, then you print it. So that gives you the three things of being able to check it. You already edited it, already edited the document. Now you just spell checked it, and now you're getting ready to proof it. Okay? So You in the back.
So Eclipse knows how to read names in Spanish?
It knows how to read everything.
Cool.
Yeah.
You don't have to add that, it's just already in there.
It might not have it,
Not all the names, because there's a lot of
but I
different
mean,
names.
you
like
add
the
it
common
to your
ones.
dictionary.
Right.
It may.
It may.
It may. Some of them it may. Some of them it may not. You know, like most of the typical names, Mary,
Inguanzo.
Joe, George, you know, Javier, probably not.
Alright.
You know, De Los Santos, probably not. You know, but no big deal. You can add it to your dictionary to where it comes up. When it comes up De Los Santos, no big deal. You don't have to. So all you do is add it to your dictionary. You know that it's correct.
How do you stroke
Probably.
Rodriguez?
How do you
Stroke Rodriguez.
Rod?
Rod.
Is the way I do it. I don't stroke out Rodriguez. Trust me, you're not going to want to do that either. But it comes up, for me, it comes up Rodriguez. But if, you know, say the guy's name is Joe.
Inguanzo.
No. You have to do something where it's close. Like Joe Rottingham.
Oh.
Well, you're taking the deposition of Joe Rottingham. I don't know that I want to stroke that every time. Rottingham. Not hard, but I mean, you know, you can think of other things. All you do is Rod. Well, all you do to change it in that job is what?
Globally.
Global it,
Dictionary.
list it, and then put it in a job dictionary. Thank you. My lovely assistant helped me out. She'll be teaching the class next week. So that's all you have to do. So every time Rod comes up, you don't need it to be Rodriguez. All you need it to be is Rottingham. So you can change things, okay? So like if you hear Rodriguez a lot, you can put in your dictionary, whatever. You know, like I told you, be careful with that. Be careful. Because like Rod, I hear Rodriguez all the time. You know, especially here in San Antonio, you're gonna hear it a lot. Well, if you're up north, maybe it's Rottingham you're gonna hear more. You're not gonna hear Rodriguez at all. So it's gonna be Rottingham, you know, up, you know, north somewhere, possibly. So, you know, it's things like that. You're gonna use it to where the thing that you hear the most. Make sense? Or you just leave it at Rod. And then, you know, every time it comes up, then you just change it. The one time the Rod comes up, and all it's gonna say is Mr. Rod. No big deal. You go in there, global it, and the one time you do it, every time Rod comes up, it already changed it. Does that make sense? So you can do it either of two ways, but be careful with putting stuff in your main dictionary. Okay, like I told you guys about Krzyzewski, and I said chef. Well, there's Sheffield, there's
The chef.
huh?
The chef.
The chefs, I don't even know what that is, but you know. So, I mean, there's different things that can happen. So it's gonna be the thing that you're gonna hear the most. Now, if you have a client that's named Mr. Sheffield, I'd probably put it in there. Because the next time you take Mr. Sheffield's deposition, which you probably do once a week because he takes a lot of depositions, and it keeps coming up and he's like, what's chef? Just be easy to do Mr. Sheffield. So this way, I mean, if you have one client that flies in, you know, and they just call and said, hey, we need a court reporter, you come up here and his name is Mr. Krzyzewski. It's like, my name is not Mr. Sheffield. Well, I have another client, no big deal, I'm gonna change it right now. And every time that comes up, it's gonna change it. No big deal. Got it? Keep it simple. Is that simple?
Let's see what list errors means. You'll find that option listed in the production menu, but you can also use the speed key, Shift Control E, as in errors. Eclipse will scan through your document and open a list of suspect items. Selecting any item will then show it to you in...
See what I'm talking about? That's what you want to do? Help yourself. And when you miss something, let me know how that worked out too. It's good, bad. It's quick because it goes through the document real quick, checks it real quick, and then it tells you These are the things that I found. And like you said, all you have to do is click on it. It goes to the page, whatever. Is that what you want? Yes. If not, no. Change it to whatever you need to, whatever. It's not my favorite way of doing it, okay?
Context. What makes this procedure a bit quicker is that although you can read the context, you don't have to. This is just a quick list of possible errors. So if you press the ignore button, or change the spelling for one occurrence, or all occurrences of an item on this list, you're then free to move on to other items. From here, you can add words to your personal spelling list, look for suggested spelling alternates, or look for a definition.
Let me let you in on a little secret. All right? You're going to get this in spell check too. You get this same box in spell check too. Okay? So you can add stuff, you can delete stuff, suggest definitions, global, change one, change all, ignore. All of this stuff is going to come up in spell check anyway. So it's not something that you can just do in this one little thing. Okay? Got it? You in the front.
But like in this example, like the medical term,
Yeah.
do you like how important is it to like put these like prefixes and stuff in? Like if it comes out all like steno, is the attorney gonna have a problem with that? I guess, does that make sense?
No.
Like, because you want to look good, right? If you're doing real time,
Yeah.
you want things to translate.
Yeah.
So how important is it to have like all the medical terms like already put in the dictionary?
Well, if you know what it's going to be about, it's excellent. But if you don't, and it's just like, hey, we're going to take the deposition of this guy, show up. Okay. Now they start talking about this procedure because this guy had this
Colonoscopy.
sacrospinous, whatever,
Sacrospinous.
some medical term and blah, blah, blah. Well, you've never heard it before. You stroked it out every time. Or maybe you didn't. You just typed sac for that, which is what I would do. I don't know that I'd stroke that out every time. If you want to, help yourself. No. Okay? Keep it simple. Keep it simple. Help yourself. So this way, when there's like, we need to go off the record. I need to talk to my client real quick. Okay? And the client or the attorney goes, hey, what's sac, roast, pinuse. I don't know how you stroked it or whatever. So and sac came out S-A-C-K, roast, and you had roast, and then pinose came out, I don't know what. Maybe it didn't come out, it just stayed in. Well, what's this? Oh, you know what? I just need to global this one thing, and now it's going to come out every time, so don't worry about that. So they kind of understand. They can read along, and they kind of know they're not as dumb as we think. They're actually, so they kind of know. They already know what they've been talking about, so they can kind of follow along and whatever. So they can kind of get it, but when you get a chance to go in there, when you'll take a small break, you can go in there and fix some of the things that aren't coming up in English, that are, just coming up rough. With the artificial intelligence, it's coming up, SAC, S-A-C-K, roast, blah, 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 whatever, okay? And then you go in there and fix it, and then it's good.
So there's not this like crazy expectation that everything has to change?
No.
Okay.
It's not. I mean, they understand. I mean, not everything's going to be in there, and they can't expect you to have, now, if you've been taking this deposition for 6 weeks, and that's all they've been talking about because this guy's suing because his sacrospinous went wrong, and you're still getting it wrong, you might start asking some questions then. You've taken 64 depositions in this one lawsuit, and you still can't get this right. But that's where you put it in your job dictionary. When you go in there, it's like, you know what, we're taking another deposition in this lawsuit, so I want to add that job dictionary, and all the other 63 others, because this is the 64th deposition that we're taking, because you never know what's going to come up. You never know what names you're going to hear. Maybe all of the other 63 people that they've deposed are going to be talked about in this one last deposition, this 64th deposition. So it doesn't hurt, you know, that you put sack in there every time and you put it into a job dictionary for this thing. Well, it's going to pick one of the 63 that you had, or you defined it as sack, and it came up as this. Got it?
You can even open the globaling dialog from.
And see how it tells you that? So you can even get a definition.
You can even open the.
So, I mean, you can push definition, and it'll even give you the definition of it, if it knows it. And it may not know it. You know, no big deal. But over here, it may have the option of, you know what, do you want to Google it? I don't know the word either. I don't know if it's spelled correct. It's underlined red. I don't get it. You want to change it? Is it right? Check the definition. There is no definition for it. I don't know what it is. You know, it's coming up all these other different things. It's like, well, I don't know. It may give you that option to Google it, remember? And it may not, you know, but it may be correct. And it may be a new procedure that they just came out with. I don't know. But if they just came out with it, trust me, it's going to be on the internet. Somewhere, some way, okay? The internet is going to become your best friend too, if it hasn't already. You can find everything on the internet, every good and bad, you know? And I'll tell you, I mean, when I first started doing depositions, I mean, like, you know, say I went into a med mal deposition. I mean, and they're talking about all these medications that this guy was on. You know, one of the ones that I did was Xanax. Oh, Xanex. Okay. No, it's not. It's Xanax. Xanax? It's not Xanax. It's Xanax. Okay? Crazy spellings on medications, procedures, doctors' names. Guys, I used to have to call like HEB, the HEB pharmacy. Hey, how you spell Xanax? What? Yeah. I mean, and it really got to be good friends with one of the ladies that never met her.
Ethel, real nice woman.
Yeah,
Real nice woman.
Beautiful. You know, I used to send her Christmas cards every year or whatever. But would call and you know, talk to this pharmacist or whatever. And hey, you know, if you don't have time or you don't have it in the documentation from the deposition that you took, you know, and they may not, you know, it may not be in there. So I used to have to call HEB and get all of this stuff. Guys, Google has everything. Everything. You can Google it on your phone right now, Xanax, Z-A-N-E-X, and see what comes up. Xanax, you know? So it's pretty cool. I mean, you guys are at a way advantage. Way. You can look anything up. You know, anyone. I mean, even, you know, I could probably look La Rosa up and all of her stuff is going to come up. You know, the spelling of her name, last name, correct, whatever. I mean, you know, if she works at DTAR Medical Center, I've heard of DTAR. All you have to do is Google it. It comes up. It's crazy. Good.
The globaling dialog from this procedure, just as you can from the dialogues that are given to you through the spell check document procedure. So whether you want to do a meticulous read-through of your document or correct just a quick list of possible errors, there are great proofreading tools built right into Total Eclipse.
Do whatever you want. But I wouldn't do that second one. But do whatever you want.
Have you ever Googled yourself, sir?
I have.
You have?
Yeah.
I wish there was a way you could delete that stuff.
That ain't good. No. And it's crazy. It's crazy the stuff you can find out on it. I mean, it's good. I mean, because you can find out all kinds of things. Things that, I mean, you would have had to call people the next day. Well, you know what? That transcript is due the next day, the next morning. I don't have time to call.
I mean, it's crazy because I Google myself and show that I'm married to my husband, show my kids' name.
Yeah, I know. I was reading a transcript and it's
show everything.
sorry. I was doing a transcript and it was like, and your son's been in a federal penitentiary for 20 years, right? And he's still due for another 20 more. And I was like, what did this guy do? So I Googled him and he was money laundering. I was like, wow, 40 years for money laundering and people get off on way worse stuff on less time.
Yeah.
I thought it was bogus.
You can do anything. I mean, it's nuts.
Crazy.
It is crazy.
But I knew all of his information. I felt like we were
Yeah.
friends forever. I felt so bad that he was gone that long.
Yeah, but I mean, you can Google this stuff, and I mean, it's nuts. Some good, some bad, but I mean, it's there. So I mean, if you need the information, it's there. Okay.
Yeah.
So use it to your advantage. Got it?
Let's see some of the ways that AutoMagic helps you prevent spelling errors as you work. Word reversals are just one of the small problems that AutoMagic understands. This question should have been, is she still working there? Pressing 5 is a fast way to reverse these words. This should have been...
Did y'all see what that was? We've covered this too. And how do you reverse the words?
Alright.
Alt R, Shift R.
Shift R. Just start going through them. Control, Shift, Delete. Yeah, Shift R. Guys, I'm sure you've written it down because I've told you before, write it down. Trust me, you don't want to have to delete that word, which would be D, and then have to write it again. When all you have to do is just a Shift R and it toggles those words. You toggle, it's like, oh, you don't, no, it was correct. Shift R again and it toggles it again, okay? But what it does is you need to be here to toggle these two. If you're here and need to toggle these two, it's gonna toggle this one and this one. Got it?
working, but I need a different suffix. Pressing 2 here be a fast way to pick suffix ing.
Which is what? For endings? W.
Here's another suffix problem. This should have been on the form. Yes. Pressing 3 makes that correction. And now AutoMagic sees that I may need a comma in front of yes. Pressing a comma would quickly insert the comma in the proper spot. Compound words are...
This is exactly what I was talking about. We've already done it before. She was outstanding in the field. Yeah. In the field of acting, not in the cornfield.
And then field's misspelled too.
Yeah, and field is too, okay? And this is one, I'm not gonna stop it anymore because we've already seen this little video, okay? But I'm just kind of going over things that I've already gone over, okay?
Or another problem. Sometimes it may be that 2 words need to be joined as one, or that 1 word needs to be split into 2. Pressing choice 1 here corrects this unintended compound. This should have been she was outstanding in the field. A typing error occurred, and the faint underlining in red is calling that to your attention as you type. The correction is also being offered on the AutoMagic list. Just press 9. AutoMagic also integrates type over tracking. My Steno for Technological and my Steno for Tool are very close to one another, so I tend to replace one of these words with the other. Eclipse tracks that type over, and AutoMagic offers it as a choice. If I press 7, that makes the correction. And here again, AutoMagic is watching for punctuation that might need to be inserted. One last correction here. Let's assume that this is not misspelled, but the reporter didn't have an alphabet that included hyphens. Pressing 3 would stitch with hyphens. Pressing 4 would actually correct the spelling. If I just go back, pressing 3 would now stitch this spelling. These are just some of the ways that AutoMagic takes advantage of the spelling checker and type over tracking key.
Remember what I told you about this one too? Yeah?
Yeah.
About if they spelled it wrong? Do I remember? I'm sorry?
Keep it how they spelled it.
You keep it how they spelled it. If he misspelled it, let's say, well, it's 2 T's. And up to you, okay? You write what they say, okay? And if anybody comes back and said, well, that's not what he said, you know, it was 2 T's or whatever, you misspelled it. No, I spelled it the way that he spelled it.
So where does the sick come in at?
It could come in there. It could come in there. Y'all know about sick? It's kind of a suggestive, you know, like when they say things and it's not right, you know, but you don't want the reader to think you're the dummy or other people to think, that's when you sick it. You know, when they did something wrong, you know, you kind of sick and it's like, oh, okay. And that's what tells the reader something is off there or whatever. Or if they say, he went to the Bing Bada Boodle.
Okay.
Well, it's not really a word, you know? Maybe it is, but maybe it isn't. You know, but I mean, it's like Bing Bada Boodle. So you go to Urban Dictionary, you go to all these things, you can find everything, guys. You can find everything, almost. But maybe, you know, he's just trying to be a funny guy, and he's like, he was Bing Bada Boodle and all over the place, you know, whatever. It's not really a word. Maybe it didn't. You know, and when it didn't, you just kind of do it the way that it sounds, the way that you heard it, the way that you wrote it, and then you put the sick, S-I-C. And it's just in parentheses, S-I-C. And we'll go through that later. Oh, imagine that. I knew that was going to bring some questions.
So like in medical terminology, today we were talking about like if you're typing and like say they hurt their metatarsal,
Yeah.
they accidentally said metacarpal. Are we supposed to like after they're done go up and be like, did you mean metacarpal, or like just don't say anything, let them? Because our
That's what
teacher
they said.
Because our teacher said to go up there and ask like, is this what you said, or is this what you meant?
Well,
So I don't know which one to go.
I don't know that I would do that, because one, maybe the attorney was trying to trip them up on something, and now you're going to go in there and change the document when they said something else.
See, that's
Be
why-
careful with that. That's where you would probably sick it too. You know, and put metatarsal. You write what they said, and if metatarsal is a word, then leave it in there. But they meant metacarpal. That's not for you to change. Maybe they did hurt their metatarsal. Well, now you changed it because you're trying to get in the head of the witness. I'd be careful with that. I'd be careful. You know, and you may ask. I don't know. I don't know that I would have asked. You know, hey, did you mean metacarpal? No. But if you did, whatever, and they said, oh yeah, you know what, I meant metacarpal. I'm sorry. Did I say metatarsal? Well, they're both words, okay? Yeah, change it in there. I'd go back to both attorneys if you're in a deposition and say, look, I spoke to the witness. She came back and said, she said metatarsal. She meant metacarpal. I'm going to leave metatarsal in there, but I mean, she's going to change it on the errata sheet, but this is what she said. I'd bring it up like that, but I don't know that I would change it. Your job is not to change it. Your job is not to clean them up. Your job is to write what they said. That's your job. Okay? You in the back.
So I was editing something, or I think it was something we did in class, a dictation, and it said calmingly, and I was like, try to like, it was like underlined red, and I realized that's not a word. So, like, what if they like meant to say like calm, like still in that sense, you still like just write it wrong, like.
You write what they said.
Okay.
You write what they said. And if you need to, put the sick in there, because it's not a word. And they're going to say calmingly, calmingliness. You know, well, it was the calmingliness that helped him settle down. What? You know, now, and trust me, I've been doing this almost 27 years. You're going to hear stuff, wow, okay? So, it's not your job to clean them up, okay? It's your job to use that sick if you need to. calmingly, what was it, calmingly?
Well, that could have been minor too, but yeah, but I'm just saying, I think.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, you know, where it's not a word. It's not a word, and they're just kind of making something up. You know, don't change it. I wouldn't change it. You know, I'd leave it in there. Okay?
Somebody was calling the judge Your Highness once. They were like, what are you supposed to say?
I've had your honorous.
My honor. I've heard my honor.
Yeah. Trust me. So, I mean, if you do this long enough, you're going to hear a lot of crazy stuff. Okay, any questions about that? Pretty straightforward, spell check, no big deal. A lot of stuff you can do with it though. No? Excellent. Guys, we're not going to do the indexing. In the 4 or 5 years that I've been doing it, holy cow, it is super duper complex. I mean, there's reporters that have been doing this years that some love it. I know the majority that don't use it. Okay, so if you think it's something that you might want to do, and it helps in the indexing, and they kind of show you, you know, and we'll kind of get into it more when we're putting stuff in, where there's going to be page breaks and they're going to ask for the witness's name and all this stuff. Well, that's for the indexing, and it keeps track of the indexing for, you know, on what page direct examination was, on what page cross-examination was. When you're proofreading, you can keep track of that. And I'm going to show you how to do that too, okay? But I had a reporter come in the first time that I taught this class, and I think the class left more confused, and he explained it. I mean, it's super duper. So you know what, if you decide to use Eclipse afterwards, go take a
Specific class for indexing?
yeah, you can take a seminar on Eclipse, advanced Eclipse, and ask them, hey, you know, you're going to go over indexing, because I want to see indexing. Be prepared, is all I'm going to say. Okay? But I think, let me see if I can.
Let's see how automatic indexing is possible with Total Eclipse. Eclipse automatic indexing can handle an unlimited number of categories of information. But in this example, we have an index of examinations and an index of exhibits. I've prepared several short block files that Eclipse uses as headings to introduce the information that it automatically collects. I've also set up several paragraphs to format the information in different sections of my index. And I've added index lines to a few of my block files, like the sworn file, which is set up to get the name of the witness and the attorney doing the examination. These block files...
You see what I'm talking about? So these little things right here are not visible. And this, I'm going to try to explain a little bit. They're not visible. So when you arrow down, that's when you see them. It's going to make more sense once we get into block files of how confusing this stuff really is. So it's just easier to do it the way I'm going to teach you how to do it. And if you want to do it this way later, you can go take a class on indexing. It's super duper complex, okay? So we're not going to really go over it. I'm not going to spend time doing it. Guys, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on this because they're kind of going over stuff again. So we're just going to kind of go through it real quick on printing.
Now let's see how to print with Total Eclipse. Within Eclipse, the option to print will be grayed out if you don't have a document open. However, you don't have to open Eclipse just to print up an entire document. Wherever you see an Eclipse transcript icon, perhaps on the recent documents list, or some shortcut that you created, you can right-click to open a context menu and select Print to just print up the entire document. By default, Total Eclipse presumes to print your entire document, although you can use the Current button if you only want to print the page where your cursor is currently located. If your file is containing several volumes, you can print specific volumes or print specific pages within a single volume. Draft printing is also...
Remember I kind of went over that a little bit? Just showed you about this. 1 through 5, comma 30. So it's going to do 1 through 5, comma just 30, and then 53. And when you put the little dash, it tells it to go to the end. But if you just put comma 53, it's going to print 1 through 5, 30, and 53. So all you're going to have is 7 pages. You know, and if it's 289 pages from 53 to 289, now you have to do 54 till blah. Okay?
So available. This would omit your text box and footer, but it would include comment lines. So it's a way for a scopist and reporter to print out the messages they might be exchanging. A draft printout can also include a watermark that might have the text draft or do not copy, but remember that your watermarked text will only appear if the darkness is set above 0. Choose the darkness that works best for you. Here's a page from the final version of a transcript. Here's a draft version of that same page. The text box and the footer have been omitted.
Y'all see the difference there? Mm-hmm. Do you see the difference there? No? I'm going to rewind it a little bit.
Here's a page from...
See how it has the box? The footer? Watch what it does.
The final version of a transcript. Here's a...
See how it took it off? So really what it's going to do is save you some ink. You know what? You get to write off that ink anyway. You know, so... I always like to look at it and I want to see exactly what it's going to look like when it goes out. Okay? So I do it with everything. But, I mean, you can do it however you want.
Draft version of that same page. The text box and the footer have been omitted, and here's the draft version using a watermark.
Got it?
Mm-hmm.
Any questions about printing?
I have a question. For,
Yeah.
For drafting, you could just do back-to-back paper, right?
Yeah.
Same paper?
Yeah, you can do it on the back of paper. So it's, you know, stuff that you've already printed, you know, to save paper, do it on the back of it, print it on the back. Okay? That works too. I wouldn't print my final draft on that, so you might want to be careful with that, but yeah, that works.
Let's see how to create PDF files with Total Eclipse. The Total Eclipse manual is provided in paperless form. The Adobe Acrobat PDF format has become a standard for paperless distribution of documents via email or the internet. However, you do not need to buy Adobe Acrobat in order to create PDF files for clients who request them. The Eclipse installation disk includes a free program called Qt PDF. And if you need to provide PDF files that are digitally signed, you can upgrade to Qt PDF Professional for a modest fee. However, presuming Qt PDF has been installed on your computer, here's how to use it. Open the document that will be the basis of your PDF file and begin as if you were going to print to paper. At the Print dialog, use the Setup button and drop down the list of printers that are available on your computer. Then select Qt PDF Writer. When you finish selecting Qt PDF as your printer, hit OK, and continue printing as you normally would. You'll be able to save the document wherever you want.
Have y'all done this before? No? Go into your Eclipse gray Eclipse.
I'm stuck, I can't open
Huh?
mine won't allow me to open it.
Open what?
My Eclipse,
What?
it won't let me open the software. Tells me it doesn't, when I close it by accident. This app can't run on your PC.
Huh? Did you-
With your software publisher. It was working just a while ago.
It was?
No, I don't know if I can see that.
Probably need to reboot your computer.
I already did.
And it still didn't do it?
Yeah.
Okay, then you just need to call,
Call them and then
Yeah.
check out. Okay.
yeah.
All right.
Go into Alto. Does it let you? No? Okay, think, it does?
It had my printer screen popped up.
In the gray Eclipse, or were you still in the lesson?
I'm in tutorial.
Okay, get back in the tutorial. That's probably why it's not letting you. Get back in the tutorial.
I'm in the lesson, I'm sorry.
Yeah. I told them to get out and get into the gray Eclipse screen, so we were gonna see if they had it. Go into Alto. So you come right here into Setup, Properties, and it's right there. Qt PDF Writer. Do y'all have that?
I mean, I do.
I do,
don't know.
yeah.
I think you got to download
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
You just have to download it. So go to Google and type Qt, C-U-T-E, PDF, and it'll come up, and it'll say free, whatever, and then that's how you do it. And it'll automatically usually go into your printer thing. You're gonna need it, okay? So if you don't have it, Google it, download it, and it should put it in your printer setup.
Let's see how to create PDF files with Totally Log. Use the Setup button and drop down the list of printers that are available on your computer. Then select Qt PDF Writer. When you finish selecting Qt PDF as your printer, hit OK, and continue printing as you normally would. You'll be able to save the document wherever you want.
So you know it's not gonna print, right? Y'all know that?
Yeah.
What it's gonna do is help you create a file. It's what the Qt PDF does. It doesn't print, okay? It's creating the file. Got it? Katie?
Alright, I'm like, I'll forget, so I'm trying to download it now. I just want to make sure.
You're downloading it now?
Well, like, yeah. 'cause I-
Okay. No, that's all right. That's all right. I just want to make sure that you understand what I'm telling you. Or not.
Huh?
I just want to make sure that you understand what I'm
Oh,
telling you.
no, I do.
That you know it's not going to print, it's going to create a file, okay? So when you create these PDF files, what it does is it allows you to send it to somebody else, but it's not a working document. So they can't go in there and change anything on the document. Once it's in a PDF file, they can't change it. You send them your file, your regular file, they can change it, okay? So you want to send it as a PDF. Got it?
The PDF format is inherently richer than an ASCII. You notice the text box and italics and bold print all show up. And it's quite easy to create. All you have to do is go to the print dialog and use the setup button to select Qt PDF instead of your normal paper printer.
Any questions about that? About the PDF files? And we'll go into it more later.
Let's see how Eclipse lets you control the printing of time-stamped document. Timestamps come from real-time translation using any steno machine, as well as non-real-time writing on some steno writers with internal timestamping. When you're ready to print, just put a check in the box next to time codes, and Eclipse will use your user settings to print a time-stamped document. This gear icon opens the part of my user settings where I can set up time codes. Here's the button to select the time printing font, and where I indicated that I want to show hours, minutes, and seconds. You also need to indicate how often you want time codes to appear.
So really the only time you're going to use this is in depositions. Okay? Court, usually not. Okay? But this is how you do it on the time codes. I got it so far?
You may want only a few time codes per page, or at the beginning of paragraphs, or on every line within paragraphs. Two of these time printing choices expect you to select specific paragraph types. So if I only want these paragraphs to show timestamps, I would go to the advanced settings for each of these paragraphs and put a check in the box next to time coded. And these settings could be copied to the master format so that they're remembered for all future documents.
It's a little advanced stuff right there. You know, it's stuff that when you get out, whoever you go work for, they're going to have a preference of how they want you to do it, whether it's every line, every byline, every first line on the page, or whatever, okay? So,
And that's how you can keep up with how long that position was?
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Multi-page printing is available from within Total Eclipse. Let's see how it works. Multi-page printing is selected by simply going to the print dialog and clicking on the arrow next to full size and changing to multi-page. Eclipse will use your multi-page options. And of course, you can have time codes included. Then it's just a matter of pressing OK to begin. Let's take a look at some of the multi-page options. This first example imitates the appearance of the full-size original. So the headers and footers are not omitted, and the original text box is being used. Page order left to right means page 1 on the left, then page 2 on the right, then going down to the lower left.
So you might have, you know, and you're kind of asking, well, I mean, when would I need this? Well, say you just took a 300-page deposition of a guy, and the attorney says, you know what, I need that by Thursday, and I want it in a multi-page draft, because I don't want to take 289 pages on the plane. If I can put 4 on there, cuts it down to about 70 pages, 70-something pages, and if he can read that, good luck. But he may, I don't know. Maybe he wants just 2 pages. They're going to show you different options, but this is where you would use that.
This second example takes just the opposite approach. There is no text box, and the headers and footers are omitted. Instead, special headers and footers appear on the multi-page printout. Page order top to bottom means page 1 and 2 on the left, then page 3 and 4 on the right. In this third example, a cross serves as a border to separate the 4 pages on the sheet. And here's a fourth example in which each page on the sheet will appear in a box with no gap between the edges of the boxes. Finally, a fifth example. This one is great for proofreading. It's 2 per page printed sideways.
See what I'm talking about? So maybe you had a 300-page deposition, and he's like, cut it down because I don't want to take 300 pages. I'd much rather take 150 pages, and he can read it like that. Then that's how you can do it. Cut it down. So you can cut it down into 4s, 2s, left, right, up, down, however, you know, so these are how you can do it and how you can change it.
So for this arrangement, you'll need to check your printer setup and select Landscape Orientation. Still, the text will appear larger, but you're only taking up half as much paper to print out your document. 5 examples, but just a small glimpse of the versatility of the multi-page features that are built into Total Eclipse.
Got it?
Let's see how to print a word index with Total Eclipse. At the print dialog, I'll click on the arrow next to full-sized, and you'll see that you have the option of printing just a word index or printing a word index at the end of either your full-sized document or a multi-page version of your document. I'll select multi-page with index and now take a look at some of the options that are available. If you want to use special headers or footers for the word index, here is where you would set that up. Consult the manual or the help text for a list of the symbols that can be used, for automatically inserting sheet numbers, times and dates, or for using header or footer information from the full-size document, but in a different arrangement for the word index pages. Here's how the word index threshold works. The default setting is 1. That means that any word that appears on every page of your transcript will not be placed in the word index because it's just too common. If you change the setting to 0, then all words will be indexed. If you change it to 2, then any word that appears on every other page of your transcript will be automatically considered too common to place in the word index. 2 final notes concerning the word indexing. First, the Translate section of User Settings contains a list of non-capping words. These are automatically considered noise words that will not be included in the word index. Second, you can go to the Programming section of User Settings and edit the list of common words. This gives you additional control over the list of words that you consider so common that you do not want them to appear in your word indexes.
Got it? Guys, the next time I use that will be the first time I use that. Okay? Don't really use it a whole lot. I've never used it, ever. Even when I, you know, for the 2.5 years that I, you know, did depositions and stuff, freelance work, I never used it, you know. But, you know, maybe an attorney calls and he's like, I want indexing of all of those medical terms and what pages they were on and blah, blah, blah. That's how you do it. Trust me, I doubt that you'll ever use it, but I mean, that's how you do it, okay?
So QPDF is, all that's doing is creating a PDF file out of the whole transcript.
The whole transcript.
And it saves it to your desktop, or you save it wherever you want?
You can save it wherever you want.
Okay, because I had talked with somebody from Eclipse and like a few months like back in the winter, and they told me that the new version of Eclipse you don't need QPDF anymore.
Why?
That you can create a PDF stream from Eclipse now with the version 8. So I don't know.
Maybe.
I mean, I have
Maybe
PDF
you can.
just in case. But
Yeah.
And they showed me how to, but
Yeah.
I'm so used to using the QPDF.
It's super easy with QPDF. It's super easy, you know. So
you literally just pretend that you're printing and it just.
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah. But I mean, if you've never done it and they show you how to do it on version 8, and you like it that way, then you can do it that way. I don't know that I'd ever change. I mean,
Is this the same drop down? And it shows on mine Microsoft Print to PDF. So that's what mine is.
Oh, okay.
But like I said, I'm so used to using the QPDF, I just use that.
yeah.
Once you ask Eclipse to print a document, Microsoft Windows is in charge. So let's see how to stop printing. Look for a printer icon in the taskbar of your Windows desktop. It's probably in the lower right corner of the screen. If you click twice on the printer icon, you'll see a list of the documents that are being printed. You can select specific documents that you want to stop printing, and then press the Delete key on your computer keyboard, or right-click and select Cancel. But you can also cancel all printing by going to the Printer menu and selecting Cancel All Documents. After a little while, the printing will stop. And what we've shown you here applies to other Windows programs as well, not just Eclipse. Once you...
Y'all got it? Y'all have probably done that before, haven't you? You know, so it's no big deal. So I mean, if you're in there, need to cancel it, right-click it, cancel it, blah, 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 whatever. Usually when you cancel a printing, you know, especially, it all depends on how fast your printer is. You know, it may go 4 or 5 pages, so don't freak out that it didn't stop just then. I mean, it's already read those pages in, so it's just printing those pages, and then it'll eventually stop. Any questions about that?
Let's see how to produce ASCII files. Once your document is open, there are several ways to begin ASCII creation. If you're a mouse lover, you can click on a toolbar icon. You can also open the production menu and select Output to ASCII. If you'd like to avoid the menus entirely, there's a speed key, Shift-Alt-O, as in output. In this case, you're outputting to a file rather than outputting to a printer. Here is the Create ASCII dialog. By default, the system would include all the pages of your document. But you can indicate specific pages only. If your file includes several volumes, you can specify which volumes you want included in the ASCII, or which pages within a specific volume. The default is to produce a standard page image ASCII. After the ASCII file is created, you can have the system produce one or multiple copies. The ASCII file itself is created very quickly, and the copying does not take very long either.
Got it?
We don't understand what that is.
Huh?
What ASCII, what is that?
Usually, like what, you know, when an attorney needs an ASCII, usually the office will do it for you. You know, but if you need to produce it, it's just a little file that you can put it on to where they can go in and use it. I don't even know if they use it anymore. I don't even know if they use ASCII anymore. You know, but this thing just kind of shows you how to do it. What?
Nothing.
Huh?
Nothing.
I hadn't even heard of anyone asking for it. I can't remember.
Let's
the last
examine a
time I
few
asked
of the options for ASCII file creation. The default is to produce a standard page image ASCII, but there are presets that modify the options to meet the requirements of particular litigation support programs. For instance, you would select Case View to provide a final transcript that a Case View user could synchronize with notes taken during real-time proceedings. You can also add a style preset that remembers options that you use frequently. For instance, if I produce a rough ASCII, I like it to be completely capitalized with the page number at the top left and the words draft copy appearing next to each page's number. This style preset will now be available whenever I need it.
I'm not really stopping on it because, guys, I really don't think you're going to need this. So I wouldn't worry about it too much. Pay attention here.
Let's see how to use the Eclipse File Manager. If you're a mouse lover, you can click on an icon of the toolbar. You can also open the Tools menu and select File Manager.
Write that down. Control F. File Manager.
There's also a speed key, Control F. The Eclipse File Manager includes a button which is a gateway to Windows Explorer. However, you probably won't need to use it very often. The first purpose of the file manager is to make many Explorer functions more easily accessible. For instance, you can easily move an entire group of files. You can also easily rename an entire job with all its subfiles. There are buttons for common archiving functions and for a few production functions. For instance, there's a shortcut to print an entire file or group of files.
You can do so many things in that file manager. You can move things, you can bring things in from like a thumb drive, rename things, print. Did I already say that? I mean, you can do so many things with that file manager, and they're going to go into it more in depth in the next in-depth tutorial that we're going to get into shortly. Okay, so they just kind of went over a few things that are kind of important, but you can do a lot of things in that, you know, like backups, back up your dictionaries, stuff like that. So you can do a lot of things, move files. All right. Do you have any questions about what we covered tonight? Guys, we're covering a lot of stuff now, you know, and I tell you that every class, but I mean, we really are. Okay? Use the stuff. Use the stuff. I know you're not, but, you know, helps me out. Helps me sleep better. That I at least told you. Any questions about what we went over? No? Okay, we'll see you on Monday.